went back and listened to that story about the hunt with Gene Younger and Bill Gooseman and my son. Before I left that area where it had the big limbs burning during the night, it had snowed enough that I was able to take the pieces that were left and kind of turn them around, kick them around to where I got them pretty well snuffed out, so that I didn't leave an active fire. I'll admit some of them were still smoldering, and I kicked them in to the area after I first tried to get them in the wet part to be sure there was no active flame. Then I kicked them in to where they were into the area where it was burnt clear out. Sure didn't want to be charged with starting a fire. I didn't see any danger, but it was still a concern. And I hadn't gone very far that morning from the fire, and here was a porcupine. And, I could have still got the fire to going, I think, back there pretty easy. And I remembered, that thing that I'd heard, that the porcupine was the miner's friend. If you were lost and hungry, you killed the porcupine and ate it. It did run through my mind. And I decided no way would I try with a little pocket knife to skin such an animal. So he got a free pass, and I was headed out of there. And that gentleman that had given me the matches and given me the route to get out of there and so on, had told me, he said, man, you're at least 6 miles away from where you're going to see those camps, and then after you hopefully get some breakfast there, you're going to walk another 4 or 5 miles before you get back to that main road. Wow. I guess when you're scared and all, you cover a lot of space without realizing it. Well, that morning I was walking, and I could tell my heart rate was getting way up. Part of it, I'm sure, was fatigue and not having anything to eat since yesterday noon. So, I'd stop ever so often and rest, and then I'd look out there and see, I think that's about a quarter of a mile. I'm going to walk that part, I'm going to rest again. And you tell yourself you're going to rest 30 seconds. You don't. As soon as your heart begins to slow down just a little, you're feeling like you got to go. You got to go. Rare, if ever, did I get to the 30 seconds. Started out, I think I told myself I was going to rest a minute. Rifle got heavier and heavier. And I thought, gee, surely if I could hang this on a limb somewhere and come back and get it. And then I said, you got to be kidding. You can't even keep track of yourself, let alone know where to get Mr. Nissen's rifle. So it got carried out. But, I tell you, I think it weighed about 7 or 8 pounds to start with, and it felt like it weighed at least twice that before the morning was over. But eventually, got to the place where you saw the camps. And the first one I came to where there was clear signs of activity. A couple of men were outside the tent and obviously getting ready to go hunt. And they greeted me, I greeted them, and they said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, well, and told them a little bit of the story and said, the fellow up there said he got his elk. They said, that's where we're heading right now. They said, are you hungry? I said, I'm hungry. They said, just a minute. They went in and told the wife, I heard him tell him, fix this man a plate of food, take it outside to him. They were leaving and went inside that tent. So those ladies fixed me a good meal. I had some eggs and some bacon and some bread, and I'll tell you, it did hit the spot. Made it a lot easier to walk out of the 4 or 5 miles, and I had just gotten to the road that I recognized, hey, this is the road that we came in on. Big old rock there, and I'm sitting down. Man, I'm going to rest. I look up, and guess who comes driving down the road? Gene Younger with the boys sitting in the front seat and pointing to their dad, And Gene came over there, and he said, well, he said, it's pretty lucky. He said, your son was pretty worried about you, and I told him, hey, your dad was lost out in no man's land. If you can survive that, he can survive this forest. So he said, I wasn't real worried, but he said, really down deep, I was worried. And he said, we're just on the way in now to turn you in to the authorities as lost and needing to be rescued. Whew, boy, I'm glad I got there just at the time to intercept them, or for them to intercept me, because I sure would have been in trouble if Donna had heard my name as a lost person that the mountain rescue team was coming out to look for. So we got reloaded around there, and I'm in the car at the front, and I think the boys got in the back or something. I don't really know just how that was done. We don't go very far, and a deer comes across. And man, Gene throws on the brakes, and he jumps out. I go back to the back. My gun was in the back. I'm getting my gun, and by the time I come around, he boom! And he misses the deer, and he gets away. Well, I suppose being tired and cross, I wasn't as nice as I could have been. I said, "Damn it, Gene. Take your time. Get your nerves steady and your gun steady before you pull the trigger." Well, yeah, I was feeling pretty cocky. I'd already shot 2 deer, 2 shots. Well, there's the rest of that story, too, later. Turns out I'm a lot better shot shooting a deer than an elk. And guess what? While Gene was out looking for me earlier, I think maybe that afternoon while I was first getting good and lost, the boys killed the only deer that was killed on that hunt. Where? While they were sitting in camp, the deer meandered over into their area, and they got a deer. Strange world. Fun world. And when you have an experience like I had, and you don't really get hurt from it, whew, it's not too bad. Wouldn't want to do it again. Incidentally, I did not have a relapse of the flu, which I guess that says a little something for those matches and for that fire.